Guys, welcome to this week's episode of Culture Bust. My name's Drew Bickers, and I am your host, but that doesn't really matter because I've got somebody much, much more exciting as a guest today. His name is James Say What Sales Buckley. I don't know why that's in quotations because he absolutely knows what to say when it comes to selling. He's a fantastic person to follow on LinkedIn if you get the chance. I've been getting a lot of really good nuggets of wisdom from him, and I am super stoked to have him on this week's show. James, what's up, my man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is great. Thanks for having me on. I've been excited about this one.
Sweet. So, guys, this is not going to go scripted at all. We talked about this like a week ago. We had a lot of good discussion topics and things that we thought about discussing, but we're just going to kind of kick it off with some fun. So, James, what's going on with your life right now? What's happening?
Yeah, so we just got off of a 2-hour live sales training. So JB Sales is the company that I work for. I work for a gentleman by the name of John Barrows. The team that we've assembled is like the Voltron of sales professionals. We cover prospecting, building a personal brand, social selling tactics and techniques, closing, negotiations, time management. I mean, you name it. If salespeople struggle with it, we want to build a course around it to help you solve that problem. So that's my business. That's where we're at. And anything that is tied to veterans is a super heavy talking point for me because we believe veterans make phenomenal sales professionals.
Man, that is awesome. I appreciate that. Being a veteran myself, that means a lot. I'm actually Uh, I'm recording another podcast tonight that I'll be posting in a few weeks for with a buddy of mine, a college buddy of mine, who is a lieutenant colonel in the Army, and he's an author, and I'm excited about having him on. So good
That's
stuff.
fantastic. Yeah, veterans are capable of so many things. I don't think that people understand the skill sets that are delivered in those trainings that those people receive. It's truly remarkable how gifted they are at procedure and structure, all the things needed to be successful in sales.
Working under stress.
Yeah, with quotas to make, and if I don't hit this, something bad happens. Like that, that really does matter in our world. So salespeople and veterans, they tend to mesh really well together.
I think so too. It's interesting though. I get a lot of questions on here, typically in private messages from people that are trying to kind of make that transition and that blend because they've been in the military. Let's say they took like a 20-year career path or longer for their retirement, and then trying to transition into the business world seems to be this question of uncertainty for some, as well as the hiring manager too. And I don't know if there's like a level of discomfort in hiring that person at times. Maybe they're intimidated by somebody that comes with a military background. I see some of that. And then I see some people that are just like gung-ho, super excited about hiring people for the military because they just know that they're going to be a badass when they come on board.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a mixed bag, and you probably get a lot of people with varying experiences. I don't know if you're familiar with the philosophical term, the veil of ignorance, but basically what it means is that we make decisions based on our past experiences. So if you're somebody that's been exposed to a military background that has a relatively negative connotation, maybe there's drinking attached to it or violence attached to it, in that moment when a military individual comes to apply for that job, you're sitting across the table, and even if they check off all the boxes, that alarm in your head based on that previous experience is going to say this is not a safe hire, and you might pass on that application. Well, here's what I've learned is that regardless of what personality type a military experienced individual, a veteran, might come to you with, they are quite gifted at process, structure, and execution of said process and structure. Regardless, it's what they've been trained to do. So once they understand the hierarchy and who they need to be taking orders from, it's actually relatively easy to manage them because you can put goals in front of them and they strive for that goal no matter what's in front of them in the meanwhile. Even if you put other obstacles in front of them along the way, they're pretty good at maintaining the fact that they need to hit that goal and do what it takes to do it.
It's awesome. Well, cheers to our military audience if you happen to be
Amen.
watching. Yeah, awesome. So what's next on the docket? What's
Oh
going
man,
on?
so I
Coming
want to
up?
talk about content specifically because I've been focused heavily on how content relates directly to success in sales, and I don't think enough military people. I don't even think that your average sales rep creates enough content. Studies have shown that 1% of the billion people that logged into LinkedIn last year actually create content consistently. 1%.
That just blows my mind.
That
I've been
means
screaming and preaching this to my team and everybody that's watching right now. Don't just do this for your business, the company that you work for. Do this for your brand, because guess what? You're not always going to work for the company that you're attached to right now, whether you're there for a year, 15 years, 10 years. I mean, I've been in my current company for like 11 years. Do it for yourself so that you can be noticed and you have a locker of content to leverage for whatever else other means you want to do later on, whether it's monetizing or sharing it in some way. Get out there. Use LinkedIn today.
So it's not just about LinkedIn. I feel like we're underutilizing what's in front of us. We've got LinkedIn. Facebook has been around a while. Instagram kind of took over Facebook when the millennials kind of adopted it as their chosen platform for a little while. Snapchat hit the scene, and I got 14 and 16-year-olds. I promise you, you can't pull them off of Snapchat. I don't even understand what they're doing on it half of the time, like sending pictures of their forehead. I'm like, it's not, like, it's not anything that I think is like super valuable from a sales professional perspective. But if you're a content creator, aiming for a younger generation through a Snapchat or a TikTok is probably going to benefit you in the long run, because those are the buyers of tomorrow. If you're planning on being in sales in the next 10 years, all of those people will have jobs and be able to introduce you to people in their companies, leaders that they currently work with, and you could potentially start landing deals because you've been a resource for these individuals for a long time through your content. So there's a long-term investment in yourself behind building a brand that delivers consistent value across social media platforms.
I wish more veterans in the workplace would really latch on to what you just said, because I feel like, and I don't even feel like, I know this from discussions that I have with people that are super tenured, let's say, and I feel like they are wanting to either impress their peer group or the people that hired them, which are much more tenured and experienced, let's say.
Yeah.
When they should be leveraging the group that's going to fit the bill or foot the bill in the long run. And you're not doing anything for previous generations. It's okay to, say thank you or show gratitude or serve them as well. But I think you're doing yourself and our future generation a massive disservice by not finding ways to fit into their culture and communicate with them.
Yeah, it's 100% true story. And I'll give you a good little background story. This is a true story. I can't make this up, right? My son plays football for his high school, and we go to all the games, or at least we did until this year. But we go to the games, and we can sit in those stands. And my wife and I have a tendency to just kind of listen to the kids' conversations that are sitting around us. I mean, we're all sort of packed into these bleachers. We're like feet away from each other. It's hard to miss it. So we're sitting at this game, and we hear this kid behind us say to his buddy, "I can't just dump her, man. She has the 50K following." And we both sort of like looked at each other and were like, did you just hear that? I can't believe that was just said. We kind of like peered over our shoulder to see, like, who's this kid? He was probably 14, maybe 13 at the most. But what it hit me in that moment was, we are basing our value as people on the number of followers and engagement levels that we have on social media networks like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whichever one you might be interested in talking about. Fine with it.
It's unfortunate. I wonder if there's actually some cause to pause and actually consider that for a second, because
I think we should.
well, I'm talking about like the fact that he's worried about breaking up with somebody because of those followers. Is she a vindictive person that's going to,
ruin his brand
all over social media these days? The number one way that students are bullying other students today are social media. In fact, I think the number one way adults bully adults today is through social media. Look on LinkedIn right now and look up your favorite hashtag or whatever social nightmare is going on out there. And I feel people are probably like standing in their chair, looking down at their their computer screen, cussing somebody out, or sitting there in their mom's basement, texting away like they're just some massive awesome person. And they bully people. Now, I saw this quote, and I don't know if it's real or not, but it was from Mike Tyson, I think, and I'm kind of skirting around it a little bit, but he said something along the lines of, everybody's a big man on social media because they have they're avoiding getting hit in the mouth. Maybe,
Yeah, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, I think is where you're at.
that was an older quote, but he said something more recently of like, you haven't got hit in the face yet to so you're a big man on social media.
Yeah, we call them what is it? Keyboard cowboys, I think, is what people call them. Yeah, they hide behind the keyboard. They love to throw the little jabs at you. It's interesting as we transition on to like this aspect of like negativity and bullying. It's a mind frame that we choose every day when that stuff happens. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're young, or you're one of those people that tend to get on and talk about others on social media or poke the bull, as I say, my go-to response for people that engage negatively with my content is, I appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much for your contribution. I've been saying that to people that have trolled me for years, and eventually they just go away. And if they don't go away, what I get is a lot of likes on that comment, and they get no likes on their angry, negative stuff that they put on there. And if you're after likes, that's great. But what I'm really after is, does my positivity outweigh this negativity? And most of the time, I find that it does. Not only because I am a large mammal, but also because, I believe that that positive response steals the power that that negativity typically would carry with it on something like social media in general. It'd be really easy for me to be like, oh yeah, dirtbag, let me tell you what I think. And that's not going to
It's a
help
tit
anything.
for tat world right now, and there is enough wrong on both sides to keep people going for the rest of our lives. There really
Yeah.
is. And you and I
But
can find something
appreciating
to
their
disagree
response.
upon, and we will go back and forth. And one question that I pose, because I coach and work with a lot of young students too, and I'll ask them this, and I'll ask them this right here when they're mad on social media, and I'll be like, so let's say you won your last argument, right? What did it prove?
What did you get out of it? Yeah.
What did it prove? I mean, did that other person come to see your way?
Not usually.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. I think we argue because we think there's an element of right and wrong that isn't there. There's no right answers in our world, and especially in sales. And that's the conversation I typically end up in, is business and sales and what's right and what's wrong. I tell people pragmatism is the religion of sales. Whatever works in that moment is what you need to be, how you need to act, the way you need to respond. Because yeah, you want to be transparent, you want to be obvious, you want to be upfront, you want to manage expectations, but you also want to do what works in that moment to get what everybody wants. I want to provide you with a solution that works for you, and I want you to be happy with that solution. If I convince you to buy something from me or take action, and then you're unhappy with it, I've done more harm than good in that moment.
You've absolutely destroyed your brand if you've done that.
Well, your credibility, your brand, your consistency. What do they say? Do a good job, they tell one or two people. You do a bad job, they tell 10,000. Nowhere is that more obvious than social media. At Comcast, fix my cable. What's wrong with you? Right? Like, this is stuff that we see every day, all day.
Every survey that somebody fills out, it's about the negative response and stuff. I mean, all the 1-800, how am I driving on the pass to your on the back?
Oh, yeah.
No, I just wanted to call and let you know that your guy, he nailed the right turn signal. He just crushed it. He was just an awesome driver, and complete stop. It was awesome. They don't do that.
Yeah, no, they call and they tell you he hit his brakes too fast or he cut me off. We're geared negatively, and I think that's the reason why the responses that I have are so abundant, is because my energy is infectious when it comes to positivity, or so I have been told. And I think that is something that I carry with me proudly, because I've got a history, right? That history has a tail attached to it of, I'm really lucky to be here today.
Yeah.
So when people say to me, how do you stay so positive? I say, dude, I'm alive today. And that is amazing. Like, if you knew how unlikely that was 20 years ago, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense.
I genuinely want to be your friend, like outside of this show. I'm sure you get that a lot, but I'm for real. Like, I want to be James' friend.
Dude, like, but that's what it's about, right? The value that we put out into the world goes way beyond our service, our product, the thing that we sell, the thing that we do, the thing that we like, our hobbies. The value we put out into the world goes into how we impact others. Well, I always say, like, my goal is to get as many people to show up to my funeral as possible. If you can do that, you've really done something.
Is somebody cooking? Or that's a good outlook, though.
I
Like
mean, I think I would have like a burger truck there. You know,
I'd go to your funeral.
I would be there if there was funnel cake, I guess.
Oh man. Oh gosh. So like I think my local county fair is going to be canceled. It's in October, and it looks like they're gonna not have it. But I go specifically for the funnel cake. My kids go to ride the rides, and I go to, you know, eat my weight in
Your
food.
feelings? I go to eat my feelings as well, man. I know exactly what you
Oh
mean.
gosh, man. Like no, the closest place to heaven, I think, is eating a deep fried Oreo in October while watching a football game. I'm just saying.
I gotta agree with you. I think the deep fried anything is pretty good. I live in the South. I live in the Great Smoky Mountains, and I can tell you now that just about everything under the sun here is deep fried. If it can be deep fried, it's going to be in the deep South, y'all. But the fair is that experience for me where you go and you know that you're coming back not feeling well.
Yes. Yes.
Tomorrow will be a rough day. Thanks, County Fair.
That's that day that you just plan for the following day to not even exist. Like you just hope that day would just be that next day is like the 2020 of days, right? Just
Yeah.
you
Oh,
don't even
yeah.
want it to exist because you're going to go to the fair and you're going to come back 15 pounds heavier, uh, super bloated and absolutely feeling miserable. Yeah, that's once a year for me there.
I
So
don't know if I feel miserable. I keep getting these outreach from these people, and let's talk about it because it's frustrating me that there's this uprise of fitness coaches and health coaches, and they're reaching out to people like me that are overweight, willing to admit that. I don't care. I'm not affected by judgment in any way, shape, or form. Judge me if you like. I could care less. Lots of judgment has come my way in the past. Yours is not affecting me at the moment.
I'm not
So
judging you.
no, I'm out there, whoever, like, oh,
Gotcha.
you're overweight, you should do something about it. Like, that's the mentality. Now, look, I'm not saying that it's okay to be unhealthy. Let me be perfectly clear. What I am saying is that if you're in sales as a fitness trainer and your job is to attract clients, telling them that they're unhappy, assuming that they're unhappy because they don't look like you, is not a great starting point. I tell people constantly that are reaching out to me trying to give me health tips and everything else. James, we care about you. You should eat better. Here's a list of things you should be eating. I'm like, why do you think I'm so unhappy? Do I strike you as a terribly unhappy person? I'm not. I actually like me, right? The person I am means something to me. It's a shame that it doesn't mean something to you, but it does mean something to me. So I tell these people all the time, hey man, how do you think this conversation is going so far? Almost every time they're like, it's not going well. And I'm like, do you want to know why? It's because you've done nothing but insult me since we started talking.
Ooh.
And then they have this like realization like, oh man, I called you fat. I said you were unhappy. I called you overweight. I told you you were obese. And I could go and point back to all these things in these sentences that these people send you. And what you're doing in that moment is literally telling somebody they're not good enough for you. And you know what? People like me, people that are okay with who they are, we don't care what's good enough for you because your opinion is irrelevant to us in the grand scheme of our lives. And I'm not unhappy because I don't have a six pack.
I love you, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad you're on the show. So talk to me about how somebody can better handle those opportunities, especially from
Yeah.
sales. It doesn't have to be like the fitness piece, but just in general. I think there is there's a
2020
common
has changed
problem with
everything.
salespeople reaching out and just making poor assumptions as is.
Well, 2020 has changed everything about what was working. When March came around and COVID really started to shift our space in the way that like lots of people were leaving jobs, people were being furloughed, literally quitting so that they could, get a government check. I heard a lot of horror stories about that. There's 1,000 things that people took action and did that changed our landscape. But one of the things that happened was all, or at least a lot of the automation was reeled back in because suddenly it all became kind of irrelevant, right? If I wasn't being authentic with my outreach, my reply rates were way low. So just for those of you that are out there that are like, well, what's the data look like? Here's what the data really looks like. When you are doing an email campaign and sending out thousands of emails with your marketing automation platform, the industry average is a 13 to 15% open rate and a 3% reply rate. 3%. But here's what we've seen. When you use video and you're personalizing a video for somebody, meaning I made this for you, it's 65 to 90 seconds long, 40 to 60 seconds long, somewhere in that small window of time. And when you watch it, you can clearly see that I made it for you. The reply rates go up to like 40, 50%. The open rates are like 70%. Right. And the reason is because, one, it's a pattern interrupt. Most people get plain text emails. They start like this: "Hi, my name is, and I'm with, and we do, and I can help you because we're the #1 leading provider of blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Can I have 15 minutes of your time?" That's how almost every ridiculously automated email goes.
I call it the "Hey Drew, we do" method when I talk to people. Hey Drew,
Yeah.
we do, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah. I don't care about you. Right. What do you know about me? That's my question.
Sure.
So I try to look at it from that perspective. And I say to myself, okay, well, how is this person going to know that I made this for them? Well, first of all, I'm sending you an email with a video attached to it. And all it says is, hey, thanks for taking thanks for the time the other day. I made this quick video for you. Wanted to send it to you here. It's 60 seconds long. Hope you like it. That's it. You have to watch the video to get the message. I'll be honest. A lot of people don't watch the video. I'm fine with that. They opened it. They opened the email, right? Later, I can follow back up. Any thoughts on that video? And I might get a reply there. People think that our job is to send this one message, do this one thing, and get this response. That's not how people respond. We're human beings. It takes finesse. It takes time. It takes a lot of consistency to break down those barriers that keep that wall up that says, I don't want to meet anybody new or have new conversations. I have too much going on. We have to earn each and every stage. And part of that comes with consistency. But that video, if they watch it, most of the time it gets a reply right away. That reply starts with, guess what? Thank you so much for taking the time to make this video for me. It's very impactful because I made it for them. It's obvious I made it for them. I use their name, I use their title, I use the company, I use a data point that I found, a trigger that I saw online. All that stuff resonates with them, and they say, this guy really knows who I am and what I do. That's what's working now.
I believe it. I'm a big fan of saying that your give must outweigh your take. Your deposits got to outweigh your withdrawal. That's for anything in life. That's your home life with your spouse or significant other. That's with your children. That's with your friends, and it's certainly with your customers. They're no different as well. If you want to get,
I think with your existing customers, that's true. But I'm going to challenge you on the prospecting piece.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you are negotiating, it's not outweighed on one side. If you're negotiating, it needs to be an even give and get. If it's too lopsided on one side, somebody's not happy. And if one party is not happy with what's happening, that deal probably won't happen.
I can see that, but when you're prospecting to get, and I'm speaking specifically to these people that are in a lot of these automated worlds of trying to get that first appointment, really, and they try to throw too much into one email, one LinkedIn message, and they're like, give me 15 minutes of your time, give me 20 minutes of your time. I introduced you to all this stuff or this information right here. They probably ought to spend a little bit of time of building some sort of authentic relationship with that person first and foremost, and doing a little bit of due diligence to uncover if they feel they could actually service that person. And I've got people all the time, they're like, Drew, I stumbled upon your profile and I thought we should connect. I'm like, dude, you did not stumble across my profile. You looked it up, or it came up in some massive search engine.
No, they've never even been to your profile.
President of sales. I'm like, just say it. Like, hey, you're in sales. I'm in sales. I got something I want to pitch you, but this is something that I want to give you first. And
no, they've never even been to your profile, Drew, most times.
I know, and it drives me crazy. But there are a couple people that do it, and they engage with me in some really unique ways. And when it comes time for them to make that ask, it's not fair, and it's not decent of me to say no at that point.
Well, so I have two things to add to that. Your example that you used there was, hey, I provided you with all these things. The least you could do is the expectation. But that's the biggest problem with that particular phrasing and the way that email comes across. I would argue that a big reason why salespeople miss the mark is they expect a response. They think they are entitled or owed a response because they've put some fictitious time into this outreach. Well, in most cases, these emails are automated. So I'm going to go ahead and steal that I spent time on this right away from them. Right. And then at the same time, if they are automated, chances are good they're not very personalized. So really what you've done is annoy the hell out of this person with emails hoping for a response. That person does not owe you anything. We earn every single stage, including the opportunities. People will often say to create an opportunity. Salespeople do not create opportunities. Opportunities are earned and they are given to us by our prospects.
I agree. I think you hit on it a minute ago too when you talked about breaking the pattern. Everything looks the same right now, and our minds are engineered to ignore patterns until something comes into the peripheral to shatter that pattern and kind of get you to shift your focus in a different way. And I feel like that we need to get sales reps also don't need to just try to be clever and create. They don't stop trying to be overly creative and overly
trying
clever.
To trick people.
I'm trying to trick people. I mean, I've been in sales for a long time. I probably created some of that stuff that you're doing badly back in the day. So find a way to, yes, be creative, but be authentic and real with people, especially right now and this time period, and break the pattern. But
there's a gotcha moment that a lot of salespeople chase. Haha, gotcha, right? When you do that, you're not helping your case. You're only furthering the thought process that you are just another sleazy salesperson that doesn't care about me and wants my business, and that's all. I see this time and time again, especially at the B2B level, because we will, if you dangle the shiny carrot in front of a sales rep for long enough, they will say and do the most heinous things to try to get to that carrot, especially if you tell them that if they don't get the carrot, you're going to put them out to pasture. Like that they don't want to be out there. So they're going to do everything that they can to avoid that from happening, which is why they do the most underhanded and shady stuff in the world to try to hit this number that you think is fair. The same thing happens when we put KPIs in front of them. Hey, I need you to make 100 calls a day. Well, let me tell you, I can make 100 calls in an hour. If I hit your KPI and schedule no meetings, does it really make a difference? No. I'd rather make 30 calls and schedule 10 meetings.
I've been there and I've done that, and I've had the same KPIs that I've run from various cadence and marketing automation softwares that I've used in the past.
It's all useful.
Or I'm like, we put like these trophies on specific activities, and sometimes the guy with the most activity produces the least amount of results. I mean, I sent 10,000 emails last month. I'm like, and you got nothing out of it.
Yeah. Listen, we've all been there, right? Even veterans fall into this category of like, oh my gosh, how can I scale this? And to what I say to those people is this, suffice it to say that some shit is just not meant to scale. It's supposed to be meaningful. Some stuff is just not meant to be blown up and maximized. And we've grown up in this country that has been 100% focused on hyper growth for far too long, which is why we're seeing what we're seeing now. Mom and pop shops being left out in the cold and having to shut their doors that have been open for 40 and 50 years because some politician that's local in your community has an agreement with, Home Depot or whoever, like we see these types of corporate alliances taking place. And it's unbelievable to me that people haven't realized that none of this can happen if we're not communicating with each other in the best of ways. And I think we get off a little bit off track here and go down this like political environment conversation, but like it's a tough world that we live in today to be successful, whatever that looks like to you. It might not look like $100,000 a year. Maybe it looks like 50. Maybe it's not monetary at all. I can tell you that my goal when I started in SaaS in 2015 was that I wanted to make enough money to be able to take my wife and kids to dinner without having to look at my bank account first to make sure it was okay. Man. That was my goal. Still my goal today, even though I surpassed that many moons ago.
Sure. That's a good goal. That's a really good goal. So talk to me about this. Like I'm trying to think of like new personal goals and trips and things that I'm wanting to do that this year got completely just destroyed. Clearly, like so many other people. what are you looking forward to next year? What's exciting to you in 2020? And you're a positive guy, so I know you're looking forward to tomorrow and probably the
Yeah.
next 5 minutes. The call after my call, that you're looking forward to that one. But give me some perspective on 2021. Just assuming that COVID just it runs on a calendar year, right?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm excited to get back to traveling. I'm a world traveler. I go somewhere on vacation that's new and different and exciting every
Yeah, but
year.
tell everybody where your favorite place is.
So my favorite place in the world is the island of Ireland
Yeah,
in the
my
Northern
man.
Isles.
Everybody,
Uh,
we won't get too much into it. James and I had like an hour-long discussion about this already.
I could
Both
die in
fans we love.
Ireland. Bury me in Kilkenny, St. Canisius Cathedral, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I've had brunch at W.B. Yates's grave in Northern Ireland. I could die there, and I would feel right at home in my passing. I feel like that is like I should have been there. Like that's my other life.
I I agree. There were two places that really just kind of stand out to me in Ireland. One of which was Kinsale, just south of Cork, and it's just like this multicolored abode with just some pubs down along the thoroughfare, which is just gorgeous, overlooking the water. And the other one was
Yes.
out of Galway. We took a flight to the Aran Islands, where they didn't even have electricity to 1985. They still speak
Right.
Gaelic and English there, but it was just
Yep.
this neat little culture. And there's this fort overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. It's 4,000 years old. That is
Such an
absolutely
amazing
magnificent.
place. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, the history of Ireland is truly remarkable. I spent countless hours driving and exploring that island. I've been there several times. It's a very beautiful place to be. But one of the things I learned to do there was drink whiskey the right way. So there's a quick story behind that. Uh,
I'm
I'm, I'm
all
a,
ears.
I am an Irish whiskey lover, and like most Americans, I grew up drinking whiskey the way that Americans drink whiskey. We shoot whiskey here. We do that because American whiskey tastes terrible. So, we shoot it back, and it's quick and painless. At least in our minds, it is. But I went to Ireland, and I was there for 17 days once, and we were driving around the island, and I stopped at many pubs. You can essentially roll down any hill you want in Ireland, and you'll probably wind up in a pub at the bottom of the hill. So I walk into this pub and I need to use the restroom. We're right across from St. Patrick's Cathedral in Killarney, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong about the county that we were in. In any case, I walk into the pub. I say, "Can I use the John?" He says, "Upstairs on the right." I go upstairs. I use the bathroom. I come back down, and I said, "Thanks, Pop. Have a great one." And he said, "What'll it be then?" And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "What will it be then?" And I said, "Well, I guess I'll have a Jameson on the rocks." That was my drink at the time. And I picked up the glass and I shot it back and I put the glass down and I went to walk away and he grabbed my wrist and he goes, "It took 12 years to make that. Do you think it's best consumed as fast as possible?" And I couldn't help but like look at his hand. Again, I'm a large mammal. This is an old man. He has a hold of me. My bouncer instinct says, "Please take your hand off me before I pull you over this bar." But instead, I said, "Okay, what do you suggest?" And he was like, "Let me get you another one," which he gladly charged me for. Typical Irishman, right? Pours my drink. I sat down. He said, "Take your time." I sat there. These three old men from the bar came and sat with me. My wife is waiting in the car. I just had to go to the bathroom. Like, they wouldn't allow me to leave. And I was drinking this drink like it's slowly. They're like eyeballing me. I'm like feeling like I'm about to lose my life here, you know? Like, oh man, I'm just like on vacation. There's nobody around. I'm in this bar with these guys. One guy's missing his left arm. I'm like, what's happening? Right? So I drink the drink, and what I realized very quickly was that by the time I got to the end of the drink, I appreciated it so much more. It was a different drink than when I started. From that point on throughout the trip, I think that was like day 3 of 17. From that day forward, I drank the drinks much slower and I tried lots of different whiskeys and fell in love with the art of making and drinking and identifying whiskeys and their flavors. So now my collection has just gotten ridiculous. And if you saw my cupboard, you'd be like, holy cow, this guy's an alcoholic. But really, I don't drink much. I drink to enjoy the drink, not to get drunk.
I did too, and I've got not a similar story, but kind of a similar perspective in that I as I've gotten older and my pocketbook has gotten bigger, I've started buying much more expensive whiskeys, and I've started to appreciate them a whole lot more. Therefore, they never get mixed in anything. Um, and
Ice, that's it.
maybe a cube. But I actually use the Cool Stones because I like the flavor of whiskey.
Yeah.
And so I sip them slowly. And now people have gifted them to me. I've collected them over the years, and I've
Yeah, I
got
get a
a
lot
cupboard
of
of like
bottles sent to
30
me.
bottles. And,
Yeah.
I don't get through any of them because I enjoy them so much. And so I'm similar to that.
What's your choice? What's your whiskey of choice?
American or Irish. So
Irish. Oh, come on, Irish.
um,
Actual whiskey.
I love Bushmills Black. I like the Redbreast 15-year, and I'm a big
Nice.
fan of the Jameson 18-year.
Yeah, yeah, all good choices. For those of you out there that haven't had it, you should try the Yellow Spot. It's at a distillery called the Mitchells and Sons or Mitchell and Sons. The marzipan finish gives it a very nice sweet
Yellow
flavor.
Spot.
And then if you put a rock or two in there, what you'll find is that as it cools, it becomes creamy on the front end. Probably one of my favorite whiskeys, hands down.
Nice. I got to go to the Jameson distillery when I was there. Obviously,
Yeah.
a favorite spot of many people in Dublin, and then I got to go pour a beer for myself at the um, whatchamacallit brewery while we were there as well.
Yeah, the Guinness
The
brewery
Guinness,
is
yeah,
pretty
the
solid.
Guinness storehouse. Yeah, it
They
was
take
awesome.
you up in that and you can see all of Dublin there over the horizon. It's pretty solid.
It is pretty cool. All right, so we talked about Ireland,
We
2020.
did that
Back,
then.
back. I'm glad we had that tangent because I needed that. But 2020 goals. What are you wanting to do next? You obviously want to travel. Ireland being
Yeah,
one
so
thing.
I'm back to West Africa sometime next year for sure. I visit Ghana pretty regularly, at least.
Explain. Ghana, Ireland,
Yeah,
Smoky
yeah.
Mountains. How are we doing in West Africa?
Yeah, so my wife went to West Africa. She went to Ghana in college. We went back to college as non-traditional students. So we were 30, 35 years old, sitting in classrooms with 19-year-olds. Trust me when I tell you that nobody wants the old guy in their group project. But we were sitting in those classrooms. We got our degrees just like everybody else did in 2014. Well, in 2014, she went on a class trip to Ghana and fell in love with the culture there. So when we graduated, we went back on our own accord and no plan. I mean, we literally landed with no hotels, no cars, just a backpack and our shoes on our feet. And we backpacked through the country for 14 days, slept in some holes, slept on rooftops, slept in some places that were pretty sketchy. But we made it and fell in love with everything that we experienced there. So now we go back pretty regularly. We stayed a couple nights in a village called Bompata, which is in central Ghana. It's a Presbyterian area. They have a church there, so we helped to build the church there a little bit, and then we attended a couple of church services while we were in town there. So we visit Kumasi and Accra, and we go to Larabunga, which is like Moli National Park. It's like one of the biggest wildlife reserves there. So we see the elephants and the baboons and stuff. But it's the oldest mosque in West Africa is in Larabunga in West Africa there in Ghana, so northern Ghana. But it's definitely a beautiful place to be. If you've never been, it will humble you. You'll come back a different person. Strong recommendation that you check that out. Don't make plans, just land and go.
That is so cool. I mean, typically you hear like, "Well, go to St. Lucia or Tahiti or Rome." You're sending people to West Africa, and that's absolutely fantastic.
There's a lot of experiences to be had out there, people.
So I find that doing some sort of service, like building a church in some of these places, is not just humbling, but good for the soul as well.
There's a sense of helping people. You feed a lot of people in places like that, and I think that's the thing that really warmed my heart was being able to do that stuff. There's not a lot of money in those places. There's a lot of demand for money. There's a lot of work needed, but not a lot of money to go around. So, being able to come there and be able to do the currency exchange thing and really like give back to that area a little bit and help the kids that are running up to you, putting their hands to their mouths going, I need food. Like, being able to bring them into a restaurant that you're sitting at and have them sit with you and learn about their life for a minute while they eat a fish next to you that you paid for is like very satisfying as a human being. If you've never done anything like that, I recommend you do it.
Jeez, man, that is an awesome endeavor and a really good story. I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah.
So
So, again, looking forward to the travel part of 2021, as long as we can still do that.
that's awesome.
American passports are not very welcome in other places these days.
I can hear you there. So Well, what else? What other wisdom can you depart on everybody in the audience? Because we're going to be wrapping up here just in a second, and I want to
Oh
make sure
man,
that you
what do
can
you want
end
to do?
on a big note.
What big topic do you want to cover for this last little nugget here? We could talk like life stuff, family stuff. I could definitely tell you some things not to do. I've got a lot of those in my past.
All right, how about this? I love asking this question, and it's typically on a specific topic, but I'll let you choose the topic here.
Okay.
Talk to me about a time where you had a massive failure, but
Uh,
how you got
yeah.
through it, and what was the awesome outcome on the flip side once you got through it.
Yeah. So, do you want a lighthearted story or something that will dramatically impact your audience?
It's up to you.
So,
Let's
I'll
go for
go light.
drama. Everybody's like, dude, don't do the lighthearted. Go. We want the good stuff.
Go drama. Okay. I failed as a father, man. I have two kids with my first wife that I don't talk to. I don't get to see them. And I didn't for a very long time. They're teenagers now, and I try to reach out. They don't want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to them if they're going to treat me poorly. And I send money. I'm up to date on my child support. I support everything that they do if I can. Their mother does not want to speak to me, and that's a huge failure in my life. But I went back to college. I got an education. I made something of myself so that when and if they come to me and say, I'd love a relationship with you, I can provide for them. And that is the beauty that's on the other side of that horrible experience that I had so many years ago, is that I can now say with honesty to them, yes, I can help you with your college tuition when you need that. Yes, I can help buy that car that you need to get to college. Yes, I can help get you a job because I know so many people hiring. Yes, I can educate you on what it is to do this thing that I do well and give you skills. Yes, I can help to pay for all of the things that you might need or your kids might need because I'm your father and that's my job. And even though I lost them when they were very young, I feel that I used that time really well and made something of myself that could be a provider for them later. So, silver lining to something that's really dark in the world that I think a lot of people suffer from and no one talks about.
I'm so glad you brought that up, and I think this is good for everybody right now to kind of hear because everyone is in some sort of season in their life right now, and everybody will find a season of darkness or downtime. And I think the ones that come out leveraging that downtime to do something better with themselves are the ones that are going to stand on top. And one of the things that I'm going to be asking people throughout 2021 is, I get you got laid off. I understand that your job imploded. I understand that your business went under. The whole world is going to be expecting that, and I'm going to empathize. And I'm not going to fault you for not having a job right now. What I am going to want to know is in 2021, as a hiring manager, is what did you do to better your situation, and what am I getting now by hiring you?
Yeah,
So,
how did you invest in yourself is
yeah,
huge.
James, that's big, dude. I really appreciate the authenticity, the vulnerability, the positivity, the humor, the
Oh, I'm
character.
not vulnerable.
I want to have drinks with this guy. You can tell why I want to be his friend, and I'm excited to. I've been on his show. I'm excited to have him on mine, and I think the audience would agree. We need to have you back.
Anytime, man. I'm happy to do it. These are always fun for me. And, you never know who's listening. I tell people that all the time. If you get the chance to collaborate with someone and provide value to their audience, for all you know, that audience is the one you've been waiting for this month, this year. And you won't know unless you actually take the time to meet with somebody and build something together.
Awesome, guys. This is James Say What Sales Buckley on this week's episode of Culture Bust.